I honestly cannot even believe this is happening right now. Raider Nation, we have been done dirty. Maxx Crosby, the man who led the NFL in pressures last year, is ranked 87 on the newest Madden. So I knew after Davante Adams was ranked number 1, bad news was going to come. And I like Chandler Jones and I'm glad we have him, but I do not think that he should be ranked over Maxx Crosby. Chandler Jones has a 90. And this is just complete BS. The one that pisses me off the most, the thing that really upsets me with Maxx Crosby and his rating, is the fact that JJ Watt is literally tied with Maxx Crosby, which is absolutely ridiculous. JJ Watt hasn't done shit in the NFL for like the past 3 years besides host Saturday Night Live. Like, I don't think you should have a high Madden rating just because you find Pete Davidson funny. If anything, that should cause your rating to go down. And then you have people like Danielle Hunter, who really was pretty inactive last year due to injury, ahead of Maxx Crosby. Roquan Smith, a middle linebacker from the Bears, ahead of Crosby. And Chandler Jones, like I said earlier, I like the guy. I'm glad he's a Raider, but he shouldn't be higher than Maxx Crosby. And then Khalil Mack. I mean, Khalil Mack, are you kidding me? You're gonna give this guy a 92 higher than Maxx Crosby? The 32-year-old who couldn't stay on the field last year? The guy who the Bears regretted trading for, so they shipped him away for a second-round pick? And Nick Bosa? I mean, you really don't have to be an expert to break this stuff down. It's just quite simple. 101 pressures, 10 sacks for Maxx Crosby. Bosa, by the way, only 75 pressures, bro. This guy literally has 25% more pressures than you. And Maxx Crosby is heated responding to this, posting a taking notes emoji on Twitter. Honestly, I play Madden a lot, but I seriously think I'm not going to buy the game this year. Like, okay, Mac, I get it. He's been to the Pro Bowl a lot. He's more famous than Maxx Crosby. Okay, sure. I'll let that one slide. You got to actually try with your evaluations. Like, you can't just go out here and just be like, you know who I'm going to give the highest rating? Whoever's the most famous player. Like, literally, they're deciding, like, the ratings on Madden. They're giving the 90s to anybody who has more followers on Twitter. That's really what this is all about at this point. If you have tons of followers on Twitter, then you could be ranked high, despite the fact that you really haven't done much on the field in the past few years. Maybe you had some glory days back in the day, but that was then and this is now. I want to see ratings that are based on what happened last year. And what happened last year is Maxx Crosby was unanimously the best pass rusher in the NFL. Think about JJ Watt. JJ Watt is at 87. He had Chandler Jones on the other side with him. I mean, he had the benefit of Chandler Jones. And meanwhile, Maxx Crosby had Unique Ngakoue, who I still think is a great player, but they're giving him an 82. So even by EA Sports' own ratings, you are literally giving Maxx Crosby, who had more production than JJ Watt and Chandler Jones, you're having him be lower than them, despite the fact that he had someone who you ranked as an 82 right next to him in Unique Ngakoue. Clearly, Maxx Crosby deserves the higher rating, having to do the lion's share of the work on the defensive line and not really having other people that the offenses have to double team. It's really just Maxx Crosby. We know we got to double team this guy. Let's focus on him. We do also have Denzel Perryman ranked 82. I mean, I think that's a fair rating right now at this point in his career. You know, a little bit the same as some up and comers like Miles Jack and whatnot. And like Josh Allen is 85. So you're trying to tell me that Maxx Crosby is barely better than Josh Allen? You're trying to gaslight me, bro. You know, Brian Burns, I actually really like the guy, and I think he deserves an 86, but let's just get this one a little higher, okay? Okay, now here's the worst shit. Maxx Crosby is 87. Joey Nosa, the guy who has literally a nose that makes mine look like freaking plastic surgery. This guy has a 91 overall rating, which is like, okay, maybe he has more sacks than Maxx Crosby, because sometimes it's like, okay, Crosby has the pressures, he doesn't have more sacks than these other guys. That's why you give him a higher rating, because that's a sexier stat. A sack is a sexier stat than pressures. Okay, I'll give you that, but that's not even the case here. That's not even what's happening. Joey Bosa only had 10 sacks on the year, the exact same as Maxx Crosby, but he had 68 pressures, while Crosby had 101 pressures. So in every real statistical category, Crosby is better than Joey Bosa, yet Joey Bosa has 4 ratings higher, which is like, okay, at least give Max that. At least have Max better than this guy. Okay, I get it. Nick Bosa has more sacks than Max. Okay, EA, I understand how you're going to do that. He has a lot of Twitter followers and he has more sacks. You're going to give it to this guy. But Joey Nosa, oh my goodness, this guy doesn't even have better stats than Mad Max. By the way, my hair is jacked up, so I got the hat on today. In other news, Mark Davis will present Cliff Branch to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, which is really awesome. Cliff Branch's sister, talking about Mark Davis and Cliff's relationship. Good to see Mark being able to pay tribute to one of his good friends, and about time this guy gets inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And let me tell you guys, man, I'm really sick and tired of Raiders players having to get inducted, after their life. Why can't they be inducted to the Hall of Fame during their lifetime? You're able to funnel, people like Ray Lewis in very quickly. Why does it take so long for Raiders greats why does it take so long for Raiders greats who should have been in the Hall of Fame a long time ago? You already know this guy was a GOAT, so I think they need to speed up the process, especially with some of our legends. The Raiders have the highest revenue for ticket sales in the NFL, which makes sense because when you go on SeatGeek and use my promo code WiFiWillie and get $20 off your first order, use my promo code WiFiWillie to save $20 on Raiders tickets, you'll notice that Raiders tickets are like the most expensive tickets out of every NFL team, which kind of sucks if you used to go to the Oakland Coliseum and it was very affordable. I've seen some games for even under $100 at certain points at the Oakland Coliseum, but we are number one with San Francisco, number two, New England, and then you got the Rams after, along with the Giants and the Cowboys. So really interesting stuff, because that means that, hey, we're going to have more cash. We're going to be in the stadium for a long time because it is going well. It is successful. And when Mark Davis has more cash on hand, he is able to issue out more bonuses. He is able to reduce his salary cap by issuing out more bonuses and able to convince more players to come to our team, because sometimes players want more money up front and maybe they'll just choose another team because they want their money up front. There's several reasons, right? And we got the low tax situation happening. So I really do think for years to come, we are going to be able to keep building just dominant rosters, because now we keep making more money, more revenue, more cash in Mark Davis's hand. And obviously it's a huge market. And I mean, to be completely honest, we got a lot of things put in place already. A lot of great players already signed to long-term deals who aren't going to leave anytime soon. So really, if you add a couple star free agents every single year, you're going to have a loaded roster no matter what. And then you have Adam Rank on NFL Network saying that the Raiders could be the next big dynasty. And we had talk about this after the Raiders made the playoffs in 2016. You could watch the news prior to the 2017 season. You had everyone saying the Raiders are going to be the next big dynasty. We had spent some money on some key free agents. Didn't switch head coaches, still had Jack Del Rio. And this is happening now. And honestly, it is a little odd to me that they would say this about the Raiders, because the Raiders rarely get positive press. But it's really weird that they're assuming, and this is what Adam Rank says, and look, I've heard other people say this, that the Raiders are going to go to the Super Bowl with a coach in his first year. Now, I could understand doing really well your first year. You got a lot of first year coaches when they have an already built roster, when they inherit another team. A lot of people like to say, John Gruden inherited Tony Dungy's team. Well, guess what? Josh McDaniels inherited John Gruden's team, and it's pretty much the exact same roster besides Devontae Adams and new cornerbacks. Really, it's the same exact thing. So it's really rare to see a coach go to the Super Bowl in their first year. I mean, you have Kevin Stefanski of the Browns go pretty deep in the playoffs in his first year, and Matt LaFleur of the Packers go pretty far in his first year, but not a Super Bowl. Not a Super Bowl. It's pretty intense. However, Josh McDaniels is not exactly, I guess you would say, like a young head coach. He's been around in the league for a long time, has had head coaching opportunities with the Denver Broncos, and obviously with Colts until he backed out of it. So he's not exactly a fresh blood, but I do think it's going to take some time to really get used to each other, right? And to feel each other out, especially when you're competing against people who have years of chemistry. However, flip side to that, Devontae Adams and Derek Carr were at Fresno State together for some time. They've practiced in the offseason, only really stopped practicing in the offseason together over the past 2 years. So really doesn't seem like it'd take that long to build that chemistry. And most of these players have played together, which is really interesting. You got a lot of the same people since 2019. We know the whole roster was gutted in 2018. A lot of the same people since 2019. But hey, maybe he's right, and the Super Bowl is upon us. But even if not, I do think the Raiders are set up for success more long-term in comparison to the Broncos and the Chiefs, and maybe even the Chargers as well, because I just think we have a lot of really good contracts keeping really good players for a long amount of time. And fortunately, we have a quarterback who's not demanding a ton of money, even though I believe on the open market, he could get a lot of money. He could get that north of $40 million a year, maybe even close to $50 million a year that Herbert will demand, that Russell Wilson will demand, man that Mahomes is already going to start earning. I think Derek Carr could get that, even with a short-term deal on several teams. However, he wants to be a Raider. He wants to stay cheap, which, hey, is only going to help us out long-term. Either way, like this video if you haven't already, and subscribe to the Raiders Rundown for more NFL content. By the way, if you want to see a biased Raiders fan like me cover the rest of the NFL, check out the Rundown and subscribe to my other channel. It's on my homepage of this channel.